We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast.
Here it is. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, presented to you by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Let's go, sports bar.
As you can see, I am solo on the set today. Nobody with me, but there is still plenty of stuff going on in the 419. So I want to make sure you are not out of the loop in the meantime. We will start back our full half-hour episodes on April 10th. Justin, myself, and some special guests for baseball and softball season. But we got plenty to talk about, like I said. Over the weekend, Whitmer and Centerville played in the state semifinal Division I basketball. We've got Toledo women on a WBIT run, and we've got the Walleye clinching playoff hockey. So much more to talk about. So we're going to be right here, me, you, if you're watching, if you're listening, whatever. We're going to have a nice little conversation today. All right, and make sure you are with me every single week, 4 p.m. on BCSN from April 10th and onward for full new episodes of the BCSN Nation podcast. Get that on anywhere you want to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to your podcast, or bcsnnation.com/podcast. And while you're searching for a podcast to listen to, head over to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Follow at BCSN Sports so you don't miss any of our content from Wednesday to Wednesday. We're going to start this whole thing off, as I talked about, with Whitmer and Centerville, the Division I state semifinal down at the University of Dayton. Did not go the way the Panthers wanted to. The Elks pull out the win, 58-39. Panthers finished, though, 25-3 on the season. And when those three losses come, once in the state semifinals to Centerville and twice to Findlay, who was a perennial top 10 team throughout the season. Heck of a season for Coach 𝗦�57and the Panthers. Antoine West had a heck of a game in the state semifinal, as one would expect from him. Led the team in points with 16, led the team in rebounds with 8, led the team in steals with 4, led the team in assists with 5. He did foul out in the fourth quarter, and things really got out of hand after he had stepped out of the game. But the huge difference, I think, for me watching this thing was the end of the odd quarters. There were a couple runs that Centerville went on that really separated them in this game. They end the first quarter on a 10-0 run. They end the third quarter on a 7-0 run. Those 17 points out of the 19-point spread, obviously a huge factor. Another huge factor, I think, for Whitmer was just they couldn't get shots to fall, right? They shot 35% from the field in the matchup, 16 of 45 from the field. Centerville, on the other hand, they were red hot. 20 of 37, 54%. Whitmer only 5 of 23 from three-point line. Those things in a state semifinal, if you just can't get a bucket to drop, that's the end of your season, right? And the big thing, I think, for Whitmer, though, to not hang your hat on here is they only have 4 seniors in this program that are heading out. You've got Elijah McLeod, Tamarion Davis, Sam Justin, Kayshawn Nash. Obviously, you got to replace the three-point shooting of Elijah McLeod. Tamarion Davis came in that state semifinal. I thought he played really tough defense, even though he didn't have the size some of the guys Centerville had. They were a big team. But 25-3, a loss in the state semifinal, the Final Four for the Panthers. Nothing to hang your head on. Shout out to Coach 𝗦�57and the Panthers. We look forward to seeing Anton West, Micaiah Leach, and those stars come back next year for another state Final Four run. Maybe end it with a state title. And we're talking about postseason basketball. We got to talk about the WBIT. We got to head over to Savage Arena. The WBIT in its first year, this is the inaugural season of the WBIT. It's taken over the spot that the WNIT held for the NCAA, kind of replacing it as the secondary tournament to the big dance itself. Toledo pulled a 2 seed in the WBIT. They beat Cleveland State last Thursday, 76-68. Sophia Wired huge in that one, 20 points, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. That earned them the right Sunday to come back to Savage, play St. John's, who finished third in the Big East in the regular season behind UConn and Creighton. And Sammy McConowitz decided it was her night to be the star. 17 points, 7 boards, 3 huge blocks. Hannah Novorosky, no slouch either. A double-double from herself in less than 15 minutes played in the game. 72-71 the final in that one. And it really kind of, after the second quarter, a real low point for the Rockets. They get outscored 20-8. They come back in the third quarter, and it becomes really a game of runs. Toledo goes on a huge run to start off the third. St. John's answered, pulls it to another lead for the St. John's Red Storm. Toledo continues to go on a run. Once Kiera Goss was able to get back on the floor, she had foul trouble in the first half. That allowed Quenisha Lockett to get back on the offensive end, see a couple shots fall. Sammy saw a three-pointer fall, and that was kind of the springboard to push Toledo from down 13 at one point to a 72-71 win. They advance in the WBIT. They will take on Washington State in the quarterfinals. That's this Thursday, 9 p.m. on ESPN+. So Toledo ends their run at Savage Arena with 15 straight wins in Savage on the season. All that continued coverage will be over on Sports Nightly, all the postseason coverage brought to you by the Glass City Wranglers. And as we've done every single week here on the BCSN Nation podcast throughout 2024, we're highlighting our top 20 male and top 20 female athletes of the BCSN era. And we're heading over to Cherry Street this week for a 2-star stud, 𝗦𝗽Ce 𝗿𝘆. He was a 2-time All-Ohioan on the football field, second-team All-Ohio as a receiver, his senior season, third-team All-Ohio as a punter in his junior season, and then follows that up being a 2-time All-Ohioan on the baseball side. Junior season, he won the track Triple Crown. Those of you that aren't baseball savvy, that's RBIs, home runs, batting average. He was also the track player of the year. How do you follow the Triple Crown? Well, senior season, go out, be the track player of the year, be the district player of the year. Oh, by the way, the Ohio D2 player of the year as a senior. That all earned him a ride to Michigan State, where he was set to play baseball and football up until the Pittsburgh Pirates came a-calling. The 11th round of 2019 MLB draft, they take 𝗦𝗽Ce 𝗿𝘆 in 110 games last season in the minor league system. The Greensboro, North Carolina Grasshoppers, that's their high A South affiliate, the Atlantic League. 𝗿𝘆 led that league in home runs with 23, RBI with 88, runs scored, total bases, an on-base percentage of .333. So throughout his 3+ minor league seasons, he's played almost 400 games. He's got 61 homers, 19 triples, 66 doubles, and 273 RBI. They are excited about the way he has grown. They talked about in an article how well he's done, how excited they were for his aggression on the fielding side of things, being a football player, but he needed to settle in to things in the batter's box, be a little more baseball savvy. They're excited for how he's done that. He'll spend this season, as of right now, with the AA Altoona Curve. See most of his action probably at center field and first base. Shout out 𝗦𝗽ce 𝗿𝘆, one of our top 20 male athletes of the last 20 years right here at BCSN. And we're going to continue all of our playoff talk because the Fish have clinched a playoff berth. The Walleye ready to get into postseason play. They're right now sitting with a 40-14-9 record on the season. That's first in the Central Division, 13 points ahead of Indy. They clinched the division and clinched playoffs, not the division, excuse me. They clinched the playoffs with a 5-2 victory over Indy last Saturday night. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they're one of only 3 Western Conference teams that have even clinched the playoffs. The KC Mavericks, Idaho Steelheads being the other 2. And a lot of this coming behind the hot skates and hot stick of Brandon Hawkins. He's leading the ECHL in points with 87, 37 goals, 48 assists. And if you listen to Melzak Monday over on Sports Nightly, he's chasing the one and only Shane Burschbeck in the Walleye season points record. So a pretty good season if you're Brandon Hawkins. Usually this time of year, another thing they talked about on Melzak Monday, the influx of that college talent. This year, Dalton Messina coming from Ohio State, he had 2 games, 2 scores for the Walleye over the weekend. He only had 7 goals in 5 seasons played at Ohio State, so really stepping it up for the Walleye in the ECHL. You talk about some of those college kids that had come in. The Spink brothers years back came in, put an influx of talent and excitement. Only 9 games remain for the Fish in the regular season. They'll be at Indy tonight. They host Wheeling on Friday, host Indy on Saturday to close out March and get themselves ready for a Central Division title and another playoff run for the Fish. So we'll wrap up today's show with our quick hits. All right, this is me just quick hitting you with what's been going on in the 419 over the weekend. Toledo and softball faced off in the Battle of I-75 softball edition, and it was a series sweep for the Rockets. Game 1 on Friday, an 8-3 win for the Rockets. Then head to Saturday for a quick doubleheader. Toledo wins 7-4 in the first game of the doubleheader. Second game of the doubleheader, things got crazy. And by that, I mean the bats for the Rockets got crazy. A 12-0 5-inning runs win for them. But that's not even the big news, all right? The first perfect game in Rockets softball recorded history was thrown by Sophia Knight and Maddie Yaki in that second game of the doubleheader. So shout out to those two. I-75 wins pretty great. You do it in your first ever perfect game in program history. Does not get much better. Things going real well for BG on the baseball side, though. They are off to their best start in MAC school history, a 9-0 start in the MAC after a series sweep over Akron last weekend. So ain't nobody sweeping the BG Falcons as far as MAC play goes so far. And if we're talking about baseball, you are not leaving this podcast without me talking to you about Mud Hens opening day this Friday. All right, make sure you're tuned into BCSN at 3 p.m. for our Mud Hens opening day special. As soon as that ends, scurry yourself downtown. Get to Fifth Third Field because they're taking on the Nashville Sounds. It's opening day for the Hens. And while you're there, might I recommend a Philly cheesesteak hot dog? I got to try one of those before the season started. And my goodness, you are going to want to grab one of those. They got Nashville Sounds on Friday, as I just mentioned, Saturday at 4 p.m., and then Sunday again at 2 p.m. to close out their opening series on the season. Make sure you are downtown. Don't miss a thing that's going on in the 419. Don't miss the Walleye games either. And that is a wrap on today's show, though. All right. Make sure you are tuning in. April 10th, we'll start our full half-hour episodes of the BCSN Nation podcast for baseball and softball season. Myself, Justin, and very special guests to join us along the way. Make sure you are tuning in every single week for that, whether it's on TV or you go to bcsnnation.com/podcast or anywhere else you're going to get your podcasts. Make sure you follow myself at Carnes Brandon over on Twitter. But more than anything, make sure you follow at BCSN Sports on every social media channel. We'll see you when we see you.